Chris Matthews is not the only person who is troubled at the prospect of Bernie Sanders winning. You'll recall Third Way. Third Way was the way in which bankers and austerity and cuts to Social Security, and they really don't want Bernie Sanders. And this is heartfelt, and you know this because the guy has to look down at his notes multiple times during the but here's the Third Way. They basically want to protect tax cuts and austerity for the rest of us.
I believe we can do this. I believe that many of the dozens of folks running for our party's nomination can do this.
Pause it.
I
will also say that not only is the Third Way challenged insofar as its policies are limited to a wealthy elite, they apparently also have a severe humor deficit insofar as thinking that in that delivery of the dozens of people who are running for president. Here we go.
For our party's nomination can do this. I believe a gay Midwestern mayor can beat Trump. I believe an African-American senator can beat Trump. I believe a Western governor, a female senator, a member of Congress, a Latino Texan, or a former vice president can beat Trump. But I don't believe a self-described democratic socialist can win, nor a Democratic Party that embraces those views or allows itself to be easily labeled or defined by them.
I mean, I don't know. You know, this is self-explanatory, right? I mean, this is the fight in the Democratic Party. Third Way has just basically come out with their anybody but Bernie campaign. They know that he represents an existential threat to their power base. And here is an example of how Bernie Sanders threatens the power base of people like the head of the Third Way. We just heard say anybody can beat Donald Trump except for Bernie Sanders. And here is why he's afraid of Bernie Sanders. And I think in many respects, this is why there is a knee-jerk fear amongst Democrats, particularly of this generation. Not all of the Democrats of this generation, but Chris Matthews grew up in an era in the wake of the McGovern election. A lot of people took the wrong lessons from that election, but it struck fear in their hearts. The idea of activism, of people, broadly speaking, getting involved in politics became like kryptonite to these people. They were afraid of it. And it wasn't even necessarily, I think those issues just happen to animate a lot of people. I think just the idea, the sight of people getting riled up was scary to a certain segment of the Democratic elite, establishment, however you want to define it. And so when people get activated, and that's why Howard Dean's policies, rather conservative, but for the Iraq War. But it was the fact that there were so many people who were engaged. And look, this has always been a consistent fear of the Democrats. When Barack Obama won the nomination, the first thing his campaign did was get out the word to donors: you do not donate to outside groups, regardless of who they are. I don't care if they're anti-abortion, they're abortion groups, or if they're labor, or they're single issue groups, or they're groups like Move On, or whatever it is. You do not donate to them. Everything comes through us. We do not want any outside force to compete with us that is grounded in broad-based populist support. So Bernie and Howard Dean can have, I don't want to say radically different policies, but significant difference. But they are both a threat because of this allergic knee-jerk reaction to seeing people activated. So something like this clip with Bernie in his school talking about his proposal, which supposedly is an unfair redistributive proposal, gets this kind of reaction.
$1 trillion over a 10-year period. It's a lot of money. Well, how are we going to raise that money to do that? I will tell you exactly how. We are going to put a speculation tax on Wall Street. Years ago, the United States Congress, against my vote, bailed out the crooks on Wall Street who almost destroyed the entire economy. If we can provide a multi-trillion-dollar bailout for Wall Street, we surely can provide the help that the younger generation needs in order to go forward.
So he's talking there about his debt relief program, and that scares a lot of people. Scares a lot of people.
I think that's 100% right. And I just want to add, I don't even know this particular character, though he looks like he's been sort of toiling away in the Democratic corporate sector for a while. But in the 90s, the third way Democrats, like, he's doing the pseudo woke appeal there. See, I'm like hip and groovy. It could be anybody from any identity and any background, but it cannot be a socialist, right?
Democratic socialist.
A democratic socialist. Can't be a democratic socialist. Can't be a person with a powerful grassroots movement for all the things that you outlined. In a couple-year period in the 1990s, Bill Clinton signed the crime bill that Joe Biden wrote. He signed a vicious Republican welfare reform bill that was so vicious that Bob Rubin opposed it. The only people in Bill Clinton's inner circle that supported it were Al Gore and Hillary Clinton. Every other member of the cabinet opposed it. And then and Dick Morris. And then he signed actually an immigration bill which laid the groundwork for the deportation machine. There's a good write-up on the 97 immigration bill in Vox. And I just want to say that the third way in DLC, it's very important to remind yourselves that in the 90s, they were on the other side of the quote-unquote identity issues and totally willing to play to racist and nativist sentiments. And that will flip in a second if it becomes expedient. The through line of all of these groups is deregulate Wall Street, take care of Silicon Valley, and never do anything like get rid of student debt by holding Wall Street accountable. That's the point. So don't fall for any part of their scam.